Good morning and welcome to this edition of Bernal Connect. I am joined with my co-host Tracy Hsieh. Tracy, how are you this morning?
Great. The weather's amazing. We're having I don't know, it feels like summertime and spring in Bernal right now. It's beautiful and warm.
So it is definitely springtime. We have Easter coming up. You guys got anything special going on for Easter?
So we plan on doing there's a Easter egg hunt, an informal one on at Holly Park on Sunday. I think it starts at like 9:30 a.m., 10 a.m. So we'll be there with the kiddo and hopefully the weather holds up for Sunday. Just enjoying the good weather.
Yeah, and I think information on that can be found on the Bernal Heights parents groups. Tracy, you want to sort of shift to the right a little bit because we're cutting you off a little bit. Perfect. There you go.
Other right.
Yeah. You are the right, exactly. So if you're new here, which you obviously are, since this is our first edition, Tracy and I hope to get together on a weekly basis, sort of tell you what's going on the Hill, let you know about some upcoming events, as well as just sort of hopefully introducing you to some of the folks around the corridor or, and up on the Hill, whether it be your neighbor, whether it be a merchant, whether it be a professional service provider such as Tracy. But since we are just launching and we don't have that special guest, Tracy, you are also our special guest. So co-host and special
Ooh,
guest. A lot of
cool.
responsibility this morning, right? So Tracy, we were talking last week and, I was mentioning as the layperson, meaning a non-real estate person, that I assume there's nothing going on in the market because I'm not seeing a lot of houses. Um,
Right.
and you were kind enough to gently correct me and say, no, you're just not seeing what's going on. So, provide a little insight. Like, I don't see a lot of properties, but that obviously doesn't mean there's not a lot happening. So, give us a little insight.
Definitely. So, I mean, it's not just Bernal, but we are one of the most popular neighborhoods in San Francisco. So, what's been going on since late 2025 is just this confluence of a lot of different factors. I would say it's, yes, it is in part AI boom. I would also say that it's a lot of pent-up demand from those who are waiting out for the interest rates to go lower. So now the interest rates are now inching closer to 5.5 or 5%. So we're seeing uptick in demand there. Millennials who are partnering up and getting married, partnering up, and then also having children. So demand for single-family homes has really increased as well. And other things too, just transfer of wealth from baby boomers to younger generation that's happening as well as we speak. So all of that to say that for the last 6 months, we've been seeing way crazy prices in the market. Um, I'm sure you've heard some stories about properties selling for $1.5 million to $2.5 million above the list price, which we have not seen in the past years. And then I would say I would call out on the south side, at least south side of San Francisco, that there are three main neighborhoods that are getting that. Um, those stories being told. So the first is Noe Valley is very, very popular. The second is Bernal Heights. Third is Glen Park. And so I'll just focus on Bernal Heights today. It's where we live. It's
Yeah.
really, really interesting. Some of the stories I'm hearing too, and then what I'm witnessing is just a lot of buyers who want single family homes. They want neighborhoods that are dog friendly, family friendly. So Bernal Heights really meets a lot of those things. Feels like a small village in a big, bustling, modern city. That's consistently what I hear. And the big reasons are that we have single family homes, more so than any other neighborhood. So like 60% of our houses, our styles, housing stock is just single family homes.
Hmm.
About 28% is condos, but like small complexes of four or fewer units. And so if you just take a look at Bernal Heights, it's, lots of single family homes. We have a cute downtown corridor, Cortland. We've got four amazing parks here, very dog friendly, very kid friendly. And we have big views here. So go to Bernal Heights Park, just any part of really Bernal Heights. If you're on a slope of any sort, you'll get some big views. We're also flanked by two big freeways, the 101 and the 280, so you need easy access to the East Bay, South Bay. Um, it's a huge, huge benefit of living here in Bernal Heights. And on top of all that, our weather is great here. It is windier, I would say. I don't know if you agree, Mike, but Um, Pretty
Yeah, up
amazing
on the hill,
neighborhood.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's all this demand, but why isn't there supply?
Um, we've always been a low rise neighborhood. That means that the city's kind of original construction is just uh, prioritize single family homes or very low density housing. And there hasn't been a huge effort by the city to change that. There's also probably some NIMBYism in
Mm,
Bernal. So those
mm,
two are not actively or actively taking down efforts to build more housing. I can recall some notable projects that were supposed to be built in Cortland, and the neighborhood just decided that they didn't want that kind of density
mm.
in on Cortland. So unfortunately, those projects were shot down.
Um, but we're also seeing like this sort of generational transfer. Like, are we seeing some of the older tenants sort of downsizing and maybe selling their single family homes because of the upkeep and all that, or you're not seeing that either?
I am seeing that definitely.
Okay.
I'm just recalling a property that we had on Andover where, unfortunately, the owner had passed, and so the trustees, the sister, was selling the property. So we definitely are seeing that. It's been, I think, what's causing part of the supply issue is that for many of us, I don't know what interest rate that you locked in, Mike, but I locked in a very low interest rate.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to sell to get something that's bigger in Bernal, and we're a little bit our risks are tied because we locked in a 3.5% interest rate, and we're just not seeing that. It's
Yeah.
now at
Why would you give that
most.
up? Right. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, exactly. So I think it's a combination of things. Uh, yeah.
So what does that mean from a buyer's perspective? Where, they're facing a difficult buyer's market. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be over asking. There's going to be multiple offers, I'm assuming. What does that mean from a buyer? Like, how do you work with, how do you continue to encourage your buyers in such a difficult market from, the lack of demand or supply, sorry.
So I think it's important to understand the game. Real estate is a game, and we're players in it. And so understanding how and why list prices are marketed, right? It's just a puzzle piece of the overall marketing game, but doesn't represent where the market will be. So if you can have a realistic understanding of what properties are going for price per square foot, um, and benchmark prices like, okay, the average price in Bernal, for example, for a three-bedroom, two-bath house is 1.85 million. So I'm looking for a benchmark Bernal house. That's roughly the budget, overall budget, and price per square foot, I would say is probably like 1250 square foot. That's what I need to anchor my realistic expectations in Bernal. And then it goes up depending on the condition, location, can go down to depending on property condition and micro location. So I think understanding that, right, that's one piece of the game. Number two, it's really getting your ducks in order before you're going out in the market. So getting that pre-approval, getting the down payment ready, right? Having a great conversation with your agent about like, what should I expect in this market? I think that's really, really important. And then
And so
deciding
what is the down payment? 20%?
conventional loans, yeah, roughly 20%. If you can show more down payment, sometimes can sway the seller to, take your offer because they feel like you're a stronger competitor. Um, I was just 30% of our offers are also cash. And so you need to have your ducks in order to compete against inevitable cash offers that come in as well.
Well, where's the cash out? Like,
Is it
1.8 million, average price, and they're buying it for cash. So are these real estate investors? Are these tech people? Like, that's a lot of cash, right?
It's a lot of cash, and what I'm finding is, yeah, it's from stock portfolios from my clients, stocks that they got from their first or second companies that they
Mm.
kind of rode the wave, right? Went to all the way to IPO. Yes, we're seeing the big guys, right? Like Apple, Amazon, Face, Meta now, right? But I would say that it's still kind of in your traditional stock market. And then when you double up buying power, so you partner with someone that kind of is similar socioeconomic background, it doubles the buying power. And so maybe Mike, you can talk a little bit about like how it was when you were purchasing your house, and I'd be very curious to see, 'cause all I know is like what's going on right now, and it's been the same story probably for the last like 8 years.
Yeah, I mean, we purchased this in 2000, so it was a different world and a different time. Um, you know, when we purchased, there were still elements of, I wouldn't say shadiness, but like sort of like it was a little dicey still. So, I think that the market was di considerably different, and that Bernal had not yet arrived. We bought a fixer-upper, and I mean like a fixer-upper, a serious fixer-upper. So like I'm not seeing a whole lot of fixer-uppers in the market. I don't know if you are, but we're seeing some pretty nice houses that because those price points you have some expectations. But I've been surprised even in the last couple of years in seeing some homes that are sort of on the smaller side, but still like there's a house on our block that sold one bedroom, one bath, and like 900. You know what I mean? And I was like, and it wasn't a generous one bedroom. It was a small house. You know what I mean? So, like I was like, wow, the market has seriously changed. Um, is there you know, will that always continue because there will always be a supply problem? Or, you know, we've seen different cycles and we always, I remember some friends of ours bought the house across the street in, I don't know, 10 or so years ago, and we're like, oh my God, they paid so much money. And, obviously compared to today's prices, they hadn't. But, at the prices at the time, we're like, oh my God, that just seems like so much money. And we really sort of thought they bought at the top of the market, and clearly they haven't. So,
Well, yes, expect more of that. And it's just the laws of finances, right? It's just as inflation is the biggest one, right? $1 million today will be half of what's worth years from now.
yeah.
So you'll continue to see that. I remember when I bought into the neighborhood in 2019, the average price for a single family home, 3 bedroom, 2 bath in Brno was maybe 1.55 million,
Mm.
1.6. Now it's gone up to 1.85. However, if you look at the graphs of what happened between 2019 to 2026, it's really kind of up and down like this, pretty cyclical, I would say.
Was
And
that
that's close.
the pandemic or caused that? Or
Yeah, so parts of pandemic, I would also say interest rates, there was a lot of volatility. At one point in time, we were getting to 8%
Mm.
interest rate in a very short time, and that's when our market really froze. That was a story across the city, though. And then now we've just been working our way closer down to 6%, 5%. So and then lack of new housing in Bernal. I rarely see new construction in Bernal. So you're getting these houses that have been completely flipped or at least renovated,
Mm.
heavily renovated in some way. And then just pent up demand where the buyers that I'm working with are just telling me like, I really want a small village town, like small town feel, but not be so far away from other parts of the bustling city. And so
Right. And
Bernal
then
and other,
easy access to the peninsula, right?
oh, it's the biggest thing. I just moved some clients from North Beach to Bernal. They were not focused on Bernal originally, but then just by logic, we landed here because it just made a lot of sense.
Yeah. I actually am seeing, I don't know what a lot is, but I have seen a couple of from the ground up construction projects.
Mhm.
I think there's one on Andover, and then there's one on the corner of, I want to say it's
Preston.
also Andover or Anderson and Crescent. And
Yeah.
the Crescent one was an empty lot. The other one was a tear down and a rebuild. I mean, what's kind of amazing to me is what we're seeing is now they just go up, right? So it was probably a single story home and now it's 3 stories. So, like you can't, there's no more property, so you can't increase the footprint. So you just go up and they go up high, it seems.
They do exist. I mean, if you just ask DBI, I mean, there's fewer than though like 300 permits every year for new
Mm,
construction
mm.
homes. That's ridiculously low for the pace of what we need for housing. And so yeah, it's just a renovating. And to be fair, like San Francisco makes it very difficult because all the projects you do have to meet current building code. We have very high standards. And so anytime you're pulling a permit for anything, you just know that the city is going to be really kind of watching what you're doing. So things are very expensive, and that's why some folks are kind of deterred from considering new construction or building their own house, right? It's just hard.
Yeah, the other thing that I'm seeing, and these aren't necessarily new, but also just people building up on existing homes, adding that second layer, or just going up. We've seen a couple of those in the neighborhood as well. Um, so, what else should folks know? Like, so obviously, they need to be prepared for this market if they seriously want to buy into it. Should they wait, or will it get better, or this is just the way life is going to be?
There's talk about an AI burst coming. It's going to happen
Hmm,
inevitably.
sure.
Can't keep this kind of pace going. When
Yep.
it's going to happen is probably, I think, end of the year, as we again get like a series of terrible news. Kind of all, but always happens that way. Usually it takes 3 to 4 pieces of terrible news to pile up, and then suddenly see a little bit of a dip. There's a pop. But
Thanks
then
for
as we're
raining
going
on the
by that,
parade, Tracy.
sorry, I was trying to be a realist. Well, it's good for this on the seller side, right? So it's fantastic if you own property. Just know that a bubble's coming, but it'll burst very quickly and then it'll go back up again. So expect that. And in fact, our markets technically are down, but I'm not seeing really a slowdown in the average
Yeah, I would
price.
think even with an AI bubble issue, there's still enough, pent up demand that, it'll still be, robust.
63% of our working residents in Bernal Heights are professional managed, like either professionals, they're in management, they're executives. So because our source of wealth here, not just in Bernal but in San Francisco, is so diversified, even a burst in the AI or tech industry doesn't affect all industries. So we'll be fine.
There you go. So you heard it here. She gave you a little bad news, but gave you a silver lining in the
I'll
cloud.
try and
We
be
will
more
be
balanced
fine.
in the way we roll out info and data.
You're a lot of fun at parties, huh, Tracy?
I'm just trying to be fair and
Uh,
and yeah, just report things with as
so
much yeah.
what are the
Uh,
things, what do you focus on in Bernal? Bernal's your primary market?
not this real like yeah, surrounding. I really love Bernal because when clients tell me, which is almost every client's like, we really want the robust downtown area. We want views, we want parks, we want a single family home. We don't want to pay top dollar. The neighborhood that always comes to mind for me is Bernal. And it's why my husband and I moved here too. We're not from the city. We didn't know the area. We selected it because proximity to the freeway, single family home, and we were in that chapter of our life where Bernal just made a lot of sense. But yeah, I love Bernal, I love Noe, I love Glen Park, I love Potrero, I love parts of the Mission, I love Portola, Silver Terrace. So lots of great neighborhoods.
And what's the difference? Like, is there a difference, if you go to the other side of the hill? It's still technically Bernal, but what's because we have four quarters, we have the Mission side, we have the Precita side, obviously below the hill from the Cortland side. Like, how does that factor in? I mean, I've heard, and you can tell me, how crazy I am, but I've heard like every block that you get closer to the hill, like it's another 100 grand.
Yes, I would confirm that. I would say that we're splitting it like north side, south side, the
Sure.
quadrants that you mentioned. I have this map where we did microhoods within Bernal, and there's probably like 8 to 9 distinct
Hmm.
microhoods. Um, and people as they get to know Bernal know it immediately. Once I see, oh, you are south of Crescent, you are
Right.
just south of Cesar Chavez, you are north of Bernal Heights Park, you're south of it. and it has to do with walkability because we have such steep hills in
Mm.
Bernal. Being where you are able to walk is kind of your own little hood, right? You're not going to walk to an area where it takes you 45
And you're not
minutes
going
and
over
stuff.
the hill. That's never happening.
You're not, it's not, it's not happening. That's for sure. So the microhoods translate into prices. The more desirable you're of a microhood you're in, the more expensive it's going to be.
And
So
is
some
that
of those micro
proximity to the top of the hill?
depends on your flavor, right?
Okay.
And so if you want views, there's only really certain parts, and you want north side views of the city, northeast part of Bernal. So think of like Rutledge, Franconia, where you're really rising way above, but we have some downtown views. Oh, so amazing. Not walkable to Cortland.
Right.
I would even say not walkable to Proceeded because you've got these really steep hills, right? Um, I will say on the northwest side, again, you got amazing views of like Sutro Tower, but maybe not as walkable to Cortland because it is so steep in that corner. South side, right, we've got some freeway on the east side and then south of Bernal. So depending where you're at and your noise tolerance and walkability to Cortland, I would say they're the big difference in prices.
You said that the walkability being, a really important aspect, but since most of uh, Bernal isn't walkable, how does that sort of equate, right? You're like, well, we want it to be walkable, but then like, there's a hill in the way, so no, we're not going to actually walk there.
Yeah, I should say if you live in Bernal, expect some hill somewhere in a few minutes of wherever you walk. So that's like the baseline should be raised. Is like you live in Bernal, you're gonna get your thunder thighs going
Right.
because it's gonna require a little bit of uphill somewhere. Um, but the trade-off is the views. So perhaps that's worth it.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
the trade-off is the views, the convenience, like you said, the access to the freeways so that, you can go up and down to the peninsula. We do have Cortland, we have Presida, so we have these pockets where, you can just go grab everything you need and fine dining, all those kinds of fun stuff. So
yes.
what a great real estate market. Tracy, I appreciate you joining me. We will be back. We will be inviting some folks to join us. Anything you want to leave with before we go? And Tracy will thankfully give us some updates and tell you when the market's going to get better.
No, I'm excited to talk about Bernal because it's just I think this podcast is so important. Our backgrounds, I moved here 7 years ago. Mike, you've been here much longer.
Right, right.
And so we're just trying to capture like the zeitgeist of Bernal in 2026, like what's happening right now. And I'm still learning a lot of things, things that I haven't explored. And I'm excited to experience myself, share with others. Um, and yeah, to do this with you, Mike.
Sounds good. Tracy, we'll see you next week. Bernal, have a great weekend. Enjoy your Easter. Go on, find those eggs, and we will see you next week. Take care.
It's great.